Hey guys, welcome back to the Always in Season podcast, episode number 28. And today is Tuesday, October 15th, and we have a lot of breaking news that happened today.
Yeah, there's a lot of news throughout the week. We'll get through some of the, lesser news first, and
Yeah.
then we'll talk about a lot of the big things that happened. Packers signed tight end John Fitzpatrick because they placed Luke Musgrave, tight end, on IR. It's, again, kind of smaller news,
Yeah.
but they're just trying to add depth to the position
Right,
right now.
right.
The NFL fined cornerback Jalen Ramsey of the Dolphins almost $17,000 for roughing the passer. He smacked Patriots quarterback Jacoby Brissett on the face mask back in Week 5 after he threw the ball. Browns running back Nick Chubb, he's expected to play Week 7 against the Bengals, which would be really good news for the Browns. They're really, like we've talked about week after week, they're just rough. They don't have much of an identity without Nick Chubb, so that'll be good to have him back. Mm-hmm. Lions and running back Dave Montgomery have agreed to a 2-year, $18.25 million extension. Dave Montgomery's been great for them. One of the parts of a great running back duo there in Detroit. So that's a good extension for them. The Chargers placed running back Gus Edwards and cornerback Asante Samuel Jr. on IR. So tough blows for them because they're both really good players for them. Tom Brady was approved as a minority owner of the Raiders, so he officially could not play in the NFL again because owners cannot be players.
Yeah.
Not that we were expecting.
Yeah, for whatever reason, there was all that speculation after Tua got hurt, and I was like, he fake retired once. I don't think he would do it again.
No. Titans placed safety Jamal Adams on the reserve non-football injury list. NFL fines Steelers wide receiver George Pickens $10,231 for displaying a personal message on his eye black back in Week 5. Head coach Jim Harbaugh, he before the game started this week, he went into the blue medical tent and then ended up having to go to the locker room and actually caused John Harbaugh, coach of the Ravens, during his press conference, he got cut early because he went and took a phone call from his brother Jim. Ended up being what's called an atrial flutter episode, but they were able to get his heart back to a normal rhythm, and he came back and led them to a win. Yeah. But still a scary moment. Commanders standout defensive tackle Jonathan Allen, he is feared to have suffered a significant pectoral injury that will require season-ending surgery. Panthers signed veteran defensive tackle Carl Davis to the practice squad. And also quarterback Kyle Fuller is working out for them as well. Packers wide receiver Dontavian Wicks, he's considered week to week. He sustained a shoulder injury this week versus the Cardinals early in the game. Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson told reporters that running back Travis Etienne Jr. is now considered week to week due to his hamstring injury, so hopefully he can be back sooner rather than later. They can also use the help.
Yeah.
Chargers signed cornerback Eli Apple, which a lot of people make fun of him, but they're just adding depth at this point.
Yeah.
Samuel Jr. Now.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely, I would say he's past his prime, but again, it's just depth at this point for them.
Former Packers kicker Anders Carlson is signing with the 49ers practice squad. They have multiple kickers banged up, so it's just good to have a kicker on the roster. Bills, they released wide receiver Marcus Valdes-Scantling. The reasoning is because they traded for Amari Cooper, which we will get into a little bit later. 49ers released wide receiver Terrence Marshall from the practice squad. Veteran kicker Brandon McManus worked out for the Packers today. Packers have still had some kicker struggles. Their kicker currently has missed the most kicks in the league. They're still 4-2, but still they want a reliable kicker, especially once postseason comes around or even just cold weather.
Yeah.
Or bad weather, I guess I should say. Broncos opened the 21-day practice window for linebacker Baron Browning and right tackle Mike McGlinchey. Chiefs officially opened running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire 21-day practice window, which is really good news because even though they're undefeated right now, he's just a really good part for their offense. 49ers signed safety Adrian Amos, who has bounced around the league a little bit. Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski, he reiterated that he believes Deshaun Watson gives them the best chance to win, so he is sticking with him at quarterback. A lot of people, I think, are, especially the media, are trying to blame Deshaun, and it is interesting because that's just what the narrative has been out there. But the thing is, if you actually watch the games, he's not the main problem. I don't think they necessarily do better with Jameis Winston at quarterback, who I really do like. Only at an energy standpoint, maybe, would it shift something, but Deshaun hasn't been the problem.
I think part of it, too, is you have all that money tied up in Deshaun. I don't think you bench your $230 million.
No, but I don't think they make a decision.
I don't think no, yeah, like you said, there's more. I don't know. It's Deshaun's pretty helpless out there. It's just they're just not a good football team, and multiple things need to be changed.
Yeah. So one of the big things that happened this week, was in the Lions Cowboys game. The Lions ended up blowing out the Cowboys, but Aiden Hutchinson, he did suffer a season-ending fractured tibia. He had right away had to have emergency
Yeah,
surgery. He got carted off the field. It was a mess. It was a gruesome injury. They ended up not showing the replay
yeah,
because of it, and his season is expected to be over. He's officially placed on IR, but he will
yeah,
that's a very very massive injury to come back from, and at this point, it's just hoping that he can come back healthy by next
yeah.
season.
I mean, you could just see, just in a lot of the players, it looked like Jared Goff was going to cry at one point. It's just like he's such a leader for that team and such a big part. I mean, I would say arguably, if not their best player, he's definitely their top three. I know there's been some talk about maybe replacing him. Do you go get Max Crosby if the Raiders would let him go? I don't think they would, but it's like
Max
this.
Crosby also wants to be Raider for life.
Yeah,
He's saying that.
so it's going to be hard to get him out of Vegas. I just don't see going to replacing him with a big name, but he's definitely a big hole to fill on that defense, and just hopefully the guys can rally around them because they look the past 2 weeks, especially on Sunday, they looked phenomenal.
Yeah. Mike McDaniel, he confirmed that quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is expected to play again in 2024. He's still on IR, but he is eligible to resume practicing on October 23rd, which is actually coming up quick. I feel like this month is going by really
Yeah.
fast. So that'd be really good news, not just for the Dolphins, but for Tua in general, coming back fairly quickly after a lot of different head injuries. Um, the Jets have given Hassan Reddick and his rep a short window to seek a trade. His new representation, Drew Rosenhaus, has been reaching out to teams over the last 12 hours. Now, at this point, it's like 16 hours to gauge interest. We'll see if anything becomes of that. It's still one of the weirdest situations
Yeah.
we've seen in the NFL. But as of right now, there has not been a team that has been reported to show interest. Raiders. Okay, here's the big
Yeah.
news, or one of the big news of the day. Raiders officially traded Devontae Adams to the New York Jets. Now, initially, people were like, this is a ridiculous trade because it was a conditional third-round pick that can become a second-round pick based on performance, and people were like, that is way too low, whatever. However, the Raiders are not paying any of Devontae's remaining salary. The Jets are assuming the balance of it, and the Jets and Devontae Adams agreed to a contract restructure of his 2024 contract, which lessens the cap hit. They will likely have to adjust in 2025 and 2026 as well. The Jets just had a really rough loss on Monday Night Football, which we'll get into later. Garrett Wilson also got banged up towards the end of the game. I don't know if that played a part in them really making sure they go out and get Devontae or not. But either way, they did get Devontae. Rodgers and Adams get to be reunited. He goes from 1-2-4 team to another.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but this division is a little bit more promising in the sense of being able to be competitive in it.
Yeah.
With Tua out with the Dolphins and the Patriots not looking good.
Yeah, I think Rogers said on Pat McAfee's show today that I think 12:45 last night is when Rogers found out. So it was Devontae got to the. I mean, he was very quickly in New York. But I just think it's. I don't know. I truly do believe that the Jets will end up either like 11-6 or 6-11. I think this is either going to do really well or it's going to crash and burn. Um, we'll get into the game later. Won't talk too much about it, but I mean, Rodgers has his guys, so I would argue he has no excuses at this point. He played better. They looked better. Yes, last night, but still, it's just a unique situation, and it just makes you wonder if they didn't lose last night, would this trade still have happened?
Yeah.
I don't really know, but
And also Garrett Wilson.
Garrett Wilson, and then I mean they have Alan Lazard as well, but I think Garrett Wilson, we don't really know how injured he is and everything, but it was just I mean I saw it coming. I think a lot of people did too. I think there was talk about the Saints, but that was before Derek Carr got hurt, so then I think they were out of the picture. But yeah, I mean they did lose to the Bills last night, so they're further away from the division. But like you said,
and the AFC in general.
The AFC in general, yeah. But like you said, that division isn't super tough, and they definitely, if Rodgers and Devontae are at least somewhat on the same page or somewhat what they were like in Green Bay, I think this could work for them.
Yeah, and the problem is like they could maybe have a better record than the Dolphins, better record than the Patriots at the end of the season, but the Bills now they have lost head-to-head matchup. The Bills are in control of the division right
Yeah.
now. Would be expected to see that continue throughout the season. We don't expect the Bills to have a complete fall off, where then the
Right.
Jets come up and whatever. So then it's the Jets trying to fight for a wild card, and that's not going to be easy in the AFC. But we'll see what happens. Will be interesting to see how this plays out. The next game they play is against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who Mike Tomlin had just prepared for Devontae because they played the Raiders, and now they're preparing for him again
Yeah, it's
against
a Sunday night game, so prime time again for the Jets, and
fun one.
yeah, it'll be fun.
Now, on top of this Devontae trade, the Jets are planning to make wide receiver Mike Williams available, who actually had a decent game last night.
Yeah.
He was one of the go-to targets for Rodgers. I think he had one of his better games
Mhm.
since becoming a Jet. He signed a one-year deal this offseason, but the corner reports the receiver room is just too crowded now. I don't necessarily see it. I think this is somewhat about money and cap, but
Yeah.
either way, it's again not too surprising with the Devontae move.
I think part of it too is that just with former Packers there, I think Williams' targets are just going to go down and be basically nothing
Because
because
Rodgers doesn't
yeah,
throw the ball. Right?
exactly. So he's going to go to his guys that he's comfortable with, and Mike Williams is just not going to have any targets.
Yeah. The Browns trading wide receiver Amari Cooper to the Buffalo Bills. Browns received a 2025 third round pick and a 2026 seventh round pick. The Bills received Amari Cooper and a 2025 sixth round pick, which again is what led to the Bills releasing Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So a similar situation to the Jets. But this is a good move for the Bills. I'm sure Amari is happy in the sense that he's going from a losing Browns team to a winning Bills team. Now people are saying Josh Allen finally has a number one. I don't know if I would even go that far. I think he just has another really good, reliable option. Um, some think the Browns won this trade in the sense of the Amari Cooper thing wasn't working out with the Browns, but it's also hard to say. The Browns just aren't working out in general right now, so it'll be interesting to see how he plays in
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah, and I know there's been speculation too now with Mark Cooper moving on. Do you just hit the hard reset and see what you can get from Miles Garrett? I don't think they do, just because Miles Garrett is just too good. But I think if things just continue to get bad, maybe that's something that comes up later.
Yeah. But yeah, the Bills play the Titans this week, so that should be a nice game
Should
to
easy win
have,
for
you
them.
know, Amari Cooper work his way into the lineup
Mhm.
too. This was somewhat surprising, but also not surprising. It's it depends on where your stance was the whole throughout the whole season and even off season. But the Steelers are planning to have Russell Wilson be their starter this week Sunday night against the Jets. The Steelers are 4-2 right now. Justin Fields has done pretty darn well, but Russell Wilson is officially healthy, and I think it was just last week that I said I believe that they will move on to Russ once he is healthy, just based on the fact that he was the starter all along. The only reason Justin was playing was because Russ wasn't healthy, and I think they're going to go back to the he's the starter thing. Looks like they're going that route. Now, that's a lot of pressure, and the Jets now with the Devontae trade have momentum, so it'll be really interesting. Primetime Sunday night, Russ starts. What if he start?
Struggle.
What if they get to like just a 14-0 deficit or a 17-0 deficit, or Russ is struggling, or he throws two picks in the first half? Do they then right away move back to field? Like, this is a very interesting position for us to be in. I hope he has success. I think he got completely mistreated at the Broncos. I think that was so unfair. I'm really excited to see what he can do with the Steelers. It'll be also interesting the chemistry. That's weeks of chemistry that they've had with Fields. None with Wilson. So we'll see how this week of practice goes. And Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I don't think it is gonna be a situation where he gets benched mid game, just because it's like I feel like that's unfair. You know, it's even if he has a bad half, you know, to just to bench him. But I think if say they lose this game and maybe the next, and you're 4-4, maybe you're regretting starting Russ. But I don't know. It's a very unique situation where I think. I mean, then again, if Russ starts to do well, it's like, well, you have Fields now, and then towards the end of the season, neither guy is under contract. So what do you do? Because like that Steelers offense, has not looked good. I mean, they played the Raiders, but just overall this season, they just have not looked good at all.
Yeah, so obviously from a general manager standpoint, the Steelers will have a decision to make at the end of the season. But I do think right now it's up to Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a really smart guy, and I don't think that because he knows all about team and culture and chemistry, he has somehow managed to have winning seasons with some rough offenses out there. But I don't think he would make this move at quarterback if he didn't believe Russ was fully
Right.
healthy and ready to go and had chemistry enough with the team to perform well. I think if there was a question of what if he doesn't do well, we're going to bench him, I just don't think he would make that move because he wouldn't do that to the culture and the chemistry of the team.
Mm.
And then lastly, for weekly news, there was an interesting schedule change. The NFL has moved the Bears Commanders game in Week 8 from the noon or 1 o'clock game to the 3:25 or 4:25 game, and the Eagles Bengals has now moved out of that time slot and will now be the early game. So this is a fun game because Jane Daniels, Caleb Williams, both teams are having success. Both teams are winning. Both quarterbacks are, after these last 2 weeks, I guess, are doing well. And I mean, it's the number one overall pick versus the number 2 overall pick. So this is a matchup that everyone wants to see. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of glad they flexed it.
Yeah.
And the Eagles Bengals thing is interesting because neither of those teams are living up to the hype preseason. So that'll be fun to see that Commanders Bears game at the later time slot.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for the weekly news. Next we'll go through the recap of all the Week 6 games. Yeah. Alrighty, so now for our recap. Again, we had changed last week for the first time. Instead of us just kind of like spewing out stats for every game and doing the recap, we're making it a little more interesting. We'll still give you some stats of the game, but then we'll ask each other. We'll go back and forth and ask each other a question about the game or about the team. So for the 49ers Seahawks, that was a Thursday night game, a division game. We were all excited for that one, and it was interesting to see how the Niners were against like a mid-team, I guess you could say, but still a division opponent in a primetime setting without McCaffrey. And so Purdy was 18 for 28, 255 yards and 3 touchdowns. Geno was 30 for 52, 312 yards, 1 touchdown and 2 picks. Turnovers really are just a game changer. Rookie Isaac Granado, he had 10 carries for 99 yards, so almost a 100-yard rushing game for him. And then Kenneth Walker had 14 carries for 32 yards, but he did get that touchdown. Debo had 102 yards and a touchdown. Kittle 58 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was his game of the season so far. And then Lockett was 65 yards and a touchdown. An exciting moment was Laviska Shenault having a kick return for a touchdown, and then Niners backup kicker Matthew Wright was 3 for 3 on field goals, but he did get banged up, which is why they signed Anders Carlson. But my question for you, are the 49ers still the favorite in their division even without McCaffrey?
I think in their division, yeah. I think that like the Seahawks have kind of come down to earth a little bit. I mean, Geno, I'm still impressed with Geno. I know I saw his stat. His O-line is not good. I mean, I think their right tackle, I'm blanking on his name, but I think he's given up like 39 pressures. He's just, I mean, he throws the ball 50 times a game. I think that the Niners, they just need to continue to rely on their defense, and I think that Purdy and the offense will continue to learn how to live without McCaffrey. So I would say that, yeah, they're favorites in their division, just kind of based on their opponents aren't exactly what we kind of, I would say what they're expected to be, and the Niners, even though they're not, I mean, like great right now, they're still comfortably the best team in the division, I would say.
Yeah, and on that Geno point, the first interception was a rough one because it was first drive, and they had a really good drive, and they could have come out for a touchdown. He threw the ball away, and the guy just happened to make a great play on it and pick it off. That just was really rough. I feel like it just changed momentum right then and there, and they couldn't even overcome that.
All right, moving on to the London game. The Bears beat the Jaguars 35-16. Caleb went 23 of 29, 226, 4 touchdowns and a pick. His best game by far. Trevor Lawrence 23 of 35, 234, 2 touchdowns and a pick. The Bears are 4-2. They haven't played great teams, but is this like a sign of things to come for the Bears?
I'm still very, very hesitant about the Chicago Bears because if you look ahead on their schedule, they have a brutal schedule coming up. Now, they do have a bye week, but they have like 3 or 4 division games right in a row. And there's nothing easy about this NFC North division. We're
No,
currently it's the best division in football by many
yeah,
metrics,
it's
not just
not even
record.
close.
It's not even just record. It's
Yeah,
statistics in
point
various
differential
levels,
and everything
point
like that.
differential, turnovers, all of it. So, if you look at in the NFC North, I mean, it's always been kind of like a bloodbath division,
Hmm.
where it's always gritty games.
Yeah,
The only ones that haven't been are usually Packers Bears,
yeah,
where it's like okay, the Packers always have control. But other than that, I mean, these games they go to the wire.
yeah.
They're tough. They're split throughout the season. All of it. So I don't know if I would say a sign of things to come for the Bears yet because, like you mentioned, they haven't been fully tested yet. And it's not just the division games that are rough. If you look at their schedule starting in like week 8 and on,
Yeah, I
it's it's
think they have
brutal.
6 division games, and then you throw the Niners in there
You
too.
throw the Niners. I mean, it
Yeah,
is
it's bad.
really really rough. So I need to see them play against some a little bit more serious or playoff caliber
Yeah,
opponents before I get on maybe the
yeah,
hype train
yeah,
or be a
yeah.
believer.
I think this Washington game, Washington Chicago
Chicago,
game. I mean, Washington got tested this
make
week,
sure.
and they I would even though they lost, they played pretty
Yeah,
well. But yeah, I think Chicago. I mean, some of the I would say juggernauts in their division is every team.
mm,
But yeah, I think they need to get. I think they need to be at least 500 in those division games to be like, all right, this is like this. I mean, I get you play who's in front of you. Like you can't control that. I mean, they've won in the games that they should, but the game that they lost, the bad game was the Texans. They lost to Texans on primetime. So it's like,
mm.
yeah, I think that it's good that Caleb is having this confidence, but I think yeah, they need to get tested a little
Yeah,
bit.
for sure. I would say the Bears play calling has been a lot better these
Yeah,
last 2 weeks, but still, we need to.
look at who they played.
The
Yeah,
Panthers and the Jags
yeah,
aren't the toughest opponents to
yeah.
go against either. For the Bucks Saints, so Baker Mayfield 24 of 36, 325 yards, 4 touchdowns and 3 picks. Spencer Rattler rookie debut, he actually played pretty darn
Yeah.
well. He's 22 for 40, 243 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks. But he did a really good job driving them, where they were able to punch it in the end zone with a run. Sean Tucker, he had a really good game
Hmm.
for the Bucks. 14 carries, 136 yards, one rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Kamara had 13 carries, 40 yards, and a touchdown. No Saints receiver went off in this
Hmm.
game, which did not really help. But Bucks Godwin had a big day with 11 receptions, 125 yards, and 2 touchdowns. The Bucks defense had 5 total sacks, and then Shaheed had a punt return for a touchdown. So there was a lot in this
Hmm.
game. My question for you is: can we talk about Dennis Allen being on the hot seat now with 4 losses in a row, or is it too soon?
I do think it's too soon. I think that I mean the defense was not good. You give up 51 points, you're not going to win a football game. Like you're not. I mean, maybe you do, but it's just like I don't know. I don't think it's too.
Wasn't there a 54-51 Rams Chiefs game that the Rams
What was
won
the
back in
20
2018?
was 2018? That was a fun game to watch. But yeah, for the most
Other
part,
than
other than
that,
that, yeah. But I think I mean Spencer. This was Spencer's first game. It was. I think maybe with Derek Carr, maybe it's different. Maybe they win that game, but I don't know. I would say it's too soon. I don't know. They started well, but like you said, I mean, they've lost 4 in a row. Um, yeah, I would say it's too soon, but I would say it's getting warm, and I think that if they lose a couple more in a row, and if they end up like 6-11 or 7-10, I think you probably look to move on. Next up, Ravens beat the Commanders 30-23. Lamar went 20 of 26, 323, a touchdown and a pick. Derrick Henry continued to do well on the ground, 24 carries for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, 24 of 35, 269, and 2 touchdowns. I guess my question is the Ravens rushing game enough to make them the favorites in the AFC?
in the
In this
AFC.
AFC. I mean, you have the Chiefs there, but I mean that run offense is it's very tough to stop.
No, the Ravens are a really great team. I would not put them as favorites yet. I don't think you can put them as the favorites yet. You have the Bills, you have the Chiefs, you have the Steelers. These are all pretty darn good teams. Texans have been coming up. We'll see how they do against the Packers, but they're looking more and more like their better
Yeah.
selves from last season. So I don't think you can put them as favorites, but I do really like this Ravens team, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see that their rushing identity, has been there this season.
Okay.
Packers Cardinals. Packers were in control this entire game.
Uh,
Murray was 22 for 32, 214 yards and a touchdown. Love was 22 for 32 as well, 258 yards, four touchdowns and a pick. Cardinals had under 100 total rush
yeah.
yards, which was a huge thing for this Packers defense. Um, the Packers had almost 200 rushing yards on the other side. Packers defense forced three turnovers. It was all fumble recoveries. Romeo Dobbs, who had been suspended the week prior, he had two touchdowns in this game. McBride did have a good game for the Cardinals, 96 yards on 8 receptions. My question for you is: when fully healthy, are the Packers the scariest team in the NFC?
I it's in the NFC. It's very tough to say because you have teams like Detroit and Minnesota who have. I mean, even last year, like Detroit, we know what they were last year, but this is definitely like. I mean, this is really scary for a lot of the NFC teams because like this was, I would say, Love this week was like he was 100%, or he was pretty close. He was moving around. He was scrambling, throwing, making throws that he made all of last year. The guys are only gonna continue to get better, but I wouldn't say that they're like the favorites. But I think that if they continue to be better and the chemistry is better than they were last year, and then you pair that with that better defense, they could definitely make a playoff run. Next up, the Colts beat the Titans 20-17. Flacco did start. I mean, Richardson was healthy. He was QB3.
Yeah,
He was
kind
listed as
of.
QB3, but he wasn't 100%. But yeah, so Flacco started. He went 22 of 38, 189, two touchdowns and a pick. Levis went 16 of 27, 95 yards, one touchdown, one pick. Um, do you think is there any chance that the Titans move on from Levis midseason?
Yeah, because they have Mason Rudolph, who's started in the NFL before,
Mm,
as a backup quarterback. So I could see them moving on. Um, they do have a rookie head coach as well, and
yeah,
I mean, this guy didn't draft Levis, so if they're considering, hey, we're gonna draft his replacement, this season, or we're gonna go in free agency, maybe they get Justin Fields or Russell Wilson,
yeah.
like just spitballing here, but if it gets to week 8 and they're still looking rough, and Callahan feels like his offense could be way better, that Levis really is the main problem, I could definitely see them moving off of him. But if Callahan wants to move forward with Levis as a quarterback next season as well, then no, they don't move off of him. So the Texans Patriots game. This was Drake May's debut,
Mm-hmm.
and it really helped shine some light on some of the Patriots'
Mm-hmm.
struggles. But the Texans had a good game. Stroud was 20 for 31, 192 yards, three touchdowns, and a pick. Drake May, he was 20 for 33, 243 yards, three touchdowns, and two picks. Mixon had 13 carries, 102 yards, both a rushing and a receiving touchdown. Here's where Patriots are struggling. It's a rushing game. Um, Drake May was their highest rusher
Yeah.
for 38 yards. Number one thing you want when you have a rookie quarterback is blocking, like offensive line, pass protection. Number two is a run game. And they do not have that. If your rookie quarterback is your leading rusher at 38 yards, that is just
In his debut
ridiculous.
too.
In his debut, exactly. That is not, you're not going to win that
Yeah.
game. You're just not, especially against a good team like the Texans. Diggs and Dell each had a receiving touchdown combined for 134 yards. My question: is it the scheme slash play calling, or is it the poor blocking that is the main cause for the Patriots' lack of run game?
I think it's just the poor blocking. I just think that like the scheme. I just there's so many problems. Like there's more than I think that Drake May could be their franchise guy, but this is going back to the whereas like I didn't think Drake May should have started because like if he has a I don't think he played bad. I think
No, he played really
with the
well overall.
situation he had, he did well. But I mean, you just don't want him to have a really bad game and then his confidence goes down. But that's something out of his control.
Yeah.
So I would say it's more of just like execution. I wouldn't say it's scheme. It's just like you need to protect the quarterback. You need to just have the offense is it's I mean it's really bad, really bad. Um, the Eagles beat the Browns 20-16. Jalen Hurts went 16 of 25, 264, and two touchdowns. AJ Brown returned, and he had 6 catches for 116 yards and a touchdown. Deshaun Watson went 16 of 23 of 168. My question is more about, I would say, Sirianni. We saw him trying to chirp him with some Eagles fans. Eagles fans don't like him.
Mhm.
So do you think that and this was a close game against the Browns. Do you think that Eagles fans should be worried about Sirianni and just about the team, even though they won the game?
I think you can have legitimate concerns about Sirianni and the team. I think if you're concerned about the team, then you can automatically look at the head coach. The Eagles at what week 11 last year, they just start falling off and look like a mess. And it wasn't just that they had 2 or 3 bad games in a row. It was multiple bad games in a row, and then they lose in the first round of the playoffs against the Buccaneers. And it was like, what is going on? Okay, you know what? Now that's in the past. On to the next season. They beat the Packers week 1 in Brazil. Have looked at us since then. They're coming off like a bye,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking this way where they have extra practice, extra time to
Yeah.
get ready for this game. And the Browns have not looked good, and the Browns almost won this
Yeah.
game. Like it was just it's a mess. And I do think that when your team is looking out of it, when they're looking not together, when they're lacking energy, that you have to look at the head coach first. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do think Eagles fans being worried about the game or worried about the team and worried about Sirianni is definitely valid. I think it's gonna be very hard for Howie Roseman to move off of Sirianni if they make the playoffs. So.
That's fair.
Chargers Broncos. Chargers had this game won early on.
Yeah.
I would say Broncos did end up coming back, making it exciting, but I feel like it was never in question
Yeah.
that the Chargers were going to win. Herbert was 21 for 34, 237 yards and a touchdown. Bo Nix was 19 for 33, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Dobbins had 25 carries, 96 yards, 1 touchdown. Nix was the Broncos' leading rusher by over 35 yards. My question is, how much credit does Harbaugh deserve for the Chargers' culture change and winning mentality?
I mean, I would say the majority of it. I mean, the personnel I don't think has changed a whole lot. I mean, you have the same quarterback and the same. I mean, you have some free agents in there. Yeah, you have Joe Alt who you drafted, but I think he was injured the past couple weeks. But I just think that I don't I think with Brandon Staley, I think this was just it was not this it was night and day difference. Harbaugh just has these guys connected, and I mean, we knew right away like why Harbaugh was so wanted as an NFL coach is because we knew what he could do in college, and he had NFL experience. So I would say he deserves the majority of this credit. I mean, he was my favorite for coach of the year, and I think he's proven that for sure. He's gotten more out of Herbert than I think any coach has, and they look. I mean, in a tough division, they look like a promising playoff team.
Yeah, and I think something that's really neat about Harbaugh, and I'm not putting this out there because it's a religious thing, even though I'm
Hmm.
absolutely in favor of it, but I think it's really telling that Harbaugh has the team all kneeling, holding hands, and praying together before every game in the
Yeah,
locker room. And why I think that's so telling is because you'll see high school coaches doing that. You'll even see some college coaches doing that. You don't see NFL coaches saying, this is what we do, because it's like, okay, they're adults, they're grown men, they can make their own
yeah,
choices, we'll have our, huddles and whatever. We're not going to pray together, we're not going to do this. Harbaugh's doing that. It just shows that Harbaugh is the leader of this team and he is having this team together. It is Harbaugh's way of doing things, and clearly that way
yeah,
works. And
yeah.
so I think Harbaugh's done a good job of just like, I'm taking control. I think the players are buying in. It's really helped build the chemistry, and
Yeah. I think you see that too with John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh does the
yeah,
same thing, and it's a reason why John Harbaugh I think has been so successful. So I think yeah, Harbaugh came in, has his way of doing things, and all the players buy in, and clearly it's working. The Steelers beat the Raiders 32-13. Fields 14 of 24, 145. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. Najee went 14 for 106 and a touchdown. Aiden O'Connell went 27 of 40, 227, a touchdown and a pick. My original question was, are Devontae and Max Crosby both available? And I would say now it's just, do the Raiders consider, even though now they just got rid of Devontae, do they consider moving Max Crosby for multiple? I mean, you could probably get multiple first, but
no,
you don't even
no,
consider that?
no, absolutely not. He doesn't even want to. It would be different if he like want to get out. He wants to be a Raider for life. So you don't just move a star player who's the face of your team, a player who wants to be there and
Yeah.
wants to be the face. That would just be dumb. If the Raiders do that, then they have more problems than we already know. So
Yeah.
no, absolutely not. You don't entertain that. That is something that you get that suggestion, you throw it away right away.
Yeah.
You don't entertain it at all. Falcons, Panthers. Cousins was 19 for 30, 225 yards and a touchdown. Dalton 26 38, 220 yards, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Alligator had 18 carries, 105 yards and a touchdown. Bijan Robinson also had 2 touchdowns himself. Hubbard had 18 carries for 92 yards. Drake London 6 receptions, 74 yards and a touchdown. Dante Johnson had 6 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. My question is, if Tyler can continue to get going, do the Falcons have a top 3 running back duo in the league?
I honestly do think so. I think Bijan, we saw flashes last year. I think I would say yeah, top three. I would argue that, and then you pair that with Kirk. Like this team could,
And Drake has been doing well.
Drake has done well. I mean, they if they find their groove, I think they could be they'll be fighting for the division. I think by the end of the year, and we'll see what comes for the playoffs. But I would think, yeah, I mean, we knew what Bijan was last year, and what he could blossom into, and it's shown. So I think, yeah, I would say, um, with that whole line too, I think they have a um, very good duo, and then you pair that with Kirk. This could be a good Falcons team.
Yeah.
Um, what was supposed to be America's game of the week was not. The Lions won 40. They beat the Cowboys 47-9. This was over, what, partway through the first quarter, maybe in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Goff went 18 of 25, 315, 3 touchdowns. Montgomery went 12 for 80, 2 touchdowns. Dak 17 of 33, 178 and 2 picks. It's just it was it looked like the Cowboys were playing like preseason. It was like they were doing anything and everything they wanted. The Cowboys couldn't stop them. I mean, I was just gonna say what's wrong with the Cowboys, but now I think it's more of like, do you think Mike McCarthy gets? Do you think they move on from him in season? Do you? I mean, he's not under contract. Do you think they just have leave him till the end of the year?
Well, to answer your original question of what's wrong with the Cowboys, there's a lot.
Yeah.
On offense, they had
Starts with the owner.
well, yeah, but like in this game in particular, like the offense, they weren't scheming guys open. It looked like playground ball out there. We saw that in a few games, a few of the late games, especially or a few
Yeah.
of the last few games of the week. Their defense looks like they lack chemistry and communication. So there's a lot of issues there. I When it comes to McCarthy, Jerry Jones was asked about it. He's not entertaining it right now, and I don't believe that he would just move on from him after saying that he's not entertaining it.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones, he says what he feels.
Yeah.
If he feels like he's going to move on from McCarthy, we're gonna hear that from him. Now, I did say that when Dak got paid, that we automatically saw, okay, McCarthy, you're the one on the hot seat because they've invested in Dak. So now it's going to be on McCarthy. Or if they didn't invest in McCarthy, or if they didn't pay Dak, then it would have been a toss-up. Like, okay,
Yeah.
who are you blaming? But yeah, I don't see them moving on from him mid-season. That'd be really rough if 2 times in his career he gets moved on from mid-season.
Yeah.
But I would not be surprised if there is a change at coach after the season.
Yeah, I don't see unless they make some sort of historic run. I think this is his last year in Dallas.
That'd be rough. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
because I just don't know
Yeah.
where he would go. I was just
Right,
thinking
I think
like
that
what
might
would
be
happen.
it. That might be it for him.
Bengals Giants. Burrow was 19 for 28, 208 yards, no touchdowns. Jones was 22, 41, 205 yards and a pick, no touchdowns. Burrow was the leading rusher. Chase Brown did have a rushing touchdown though. Jones was the leading rusher as well. Tracy Jr. had a rushing touchdown though. Higgins was 7 receptions for 77 yards and Slayton 6 receptions for 57 yards. My question, kind of like the Eagles-Browns game, should the Bengals even feel good about the win because they struggled to beat the
No,
Giants team?
this was like a game. I think the Bengals, to feel really confident about the rest of the season, this was a game that needed to be over at halftime, and it was not. They almost lost this game.
Oh yeah.
If it wasn't for Joe Burrow having that 50-yard run, like, I mean, this game it was a sloppy game. It was just like you the Bengals let the Giants hang around. It was like you almost were waiting for them to lose that game.
Yeah, I mean the Giants played better than the Bengals in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, other than that
yeah,
first
and it
one.
was just they should not feel good about this. They should be pretty still concerned about their future or I say the rest of the season and just see they need to look a lot better. I mean, they have the Browns this week, so this should be another cakewalk game. But again, we'll see what
It's
happens.
a good thing Burrow got that rushing touchdown at the beginning of the game because he didn't have any passing
No.
touchdowns. Yeah, that was a rough one, but it was actually a really interesting
Yeah,
game, I would say.
yeah.
And
It was a competitive game and
yeah,
it was an interesting game. Last game of the week, the Bills beat the Jets 23-20. Was there 20 accepted penalties? It was
22.
22. It was flags. That's for every other play. It was pretty tough to watch. Josh Allen went 19 of 25, 215 and two touchdowns. Rodgers went 23 of 35, 294, two touchdowns and a pick. He did have another Hail Mary last night. Thing I took from this was the Jets' offense looked better. So, do you think firing Salah was the right move, or was it just the change in play calling?
No, the Salah thing has nothing to do with the offense because that's
Yeah,
the play calling. I mean, other than the fact that we don't know if Salah would have made the change at play caller, so I guess in that sense. But I do think their play calling was better. They also had energy, so we'll see how they look, next week against the
I mean
Steelers
they
against a
should
good
have won that game.
defense. In a lot of ways, you could say that they should have won the game.
Missed field
Their
goals.
yeah, both teams had some
Yeah,
missed kicks. Their first half looked much better, more promising, especially their first quarter. They just didn't capitalize. Their red zone was a
yeah,
mess.
they couldn't finish drives, and then yeah, Rodgers and um, coach said that after the game. There's just we need to finish drives.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's tough, and I'm sorry, but like Rogers, there were two times
Yeah,
that in the end zone, it was two different drives. Brees Hall is wide
yeah,
open for a touchdown on the flat. He looks at him, decides to not throw it there. We saw Dak do it in the Sunday night
mm-hmm.
game, looking off wide open guy to try to make something different happen.
Yeah,
Instead of just taking your first option, going and then throwing a lousy pass or whatever. Rodgers also they had 3 minutes, over 3 minutes,
mm-hmm.
and multiple timeouts, and the 2 minute warning to drive down and win the game or tie with a field goal. And he throws an interception, and people are like, "Oh, the receiver slipped." If he hadn't slipped, the ball would have been completely
Yeah,
underthrown. Him slipping made it close, and I think he slipped to try to come back to the ball. So,
yeah,
anyways, Rodgers had the halftime Hail Mary, which was great. I've been in a game where he's had a Hail Mary. I've gotten to win a
yeah,
set. They're fantastic, brings energy. But the fact that I don't know how many times a team has completed a Hail Mary for a touchdown in regulation yet not won the game.
yeah.
You don't hear of that. And I know it was the first half, not like the end of the game, but
Right.
that is such a momentum shifter.
Yeah.
But
They just in capital. That was a
their
big.
defense looked
Yeah.
worse without Salah. I
And yeah,
will say
it's it.
that.
That was like the biggest thing I took is like I think if Salah, I mean, again, we don't know if he makes that play calling, like the change in who calls the plays, but I mean, Salah led that defense, and that defense looked bad. Just, I don't know. You have so many question marks, and now you have Devontae there, so it's like, I think even now more, I think, yeah, even now, I think Rogers is more going to look away from the safe option and like, okay, where's 17? I'm throwing him the ball, and he's either going to catch it or he's not, you know?
It's going to be accurate. It's
Yeah.
not. And I don't think Jeff is going to do bad as head coaching, and I don't think he's a
Mm-mm.
bad defensive coordinator either. I think it's really, really tough, though, because this was a Salah-led defense.
Yeah.
And now Albrecht has a lot to deal with because he is the interim head coach. That's a lot to handle. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's less attuned to the defense. So now you lost your guy who's leading the defense and the
Yeah.
defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That you're losing attention to the defense, and that's rough. Hopefully
Mm.
they can get it on track. They play the Steelers. This will be a very, very interesting
Yeah.
game on Sunday night. So now for game balls.
My offensive game ball was Sean Tucker, 14 of 136. He had three catches for 56 yards as well and two touchdowns. I think he played well and kind of hard not to. I mean, not to give it to someone on the Bucks offense that scored 51
Well, that's
points.
fair. My offensive game ball is to Jared Goff, 315 yards and three touchdowns. He looked to control the entire game. He was making good decisions, and obviously the Lions
Mm-hmm.
dominated this game. But you got to give credit to the quarterback in that. I mean, their offense couldn't be
Yeah.
stopped. defense?
My defense is Brian Branch. He had 2 picks, 2 passes defended. I mean, ever since out of college, he was. I loved him out of college. I really wanted him, but I mean, he just continues to play very well for a very young player.
Yeah, for sure. My defensive game bill goes to Teron Johnson. He had the game-stealing interception against Rodgers, and this is a division game. It's a close
Yeah,
game. This could have
he played really
shifted
well
the
last
division.
night.
He played really well overall, and that was a really tough ball to
Mm,
catch to seal the game.
yeah.
So that's why I give it to him. And for your coach,
My coach was Dan Campbell. I mean, I just it's hard to put into words what he's done to the culture for the Lions, and you know what you're going to get every week from him. He's just, I mean, everybody in that locker room loves him, and people are going to that team now for Dan Campbell. And I mean, he just came out and just had everything. They didn't do anything wrong against the Cowboys, and I think it's funny now. I've given the past 3 head coaches have been all of the NFC North, so it just goes to show. I think they have really good coaching for the most part.
yeah. And my coach might be a surprise one, but Shane Steichen of the Indianapolis Colts. I think the Colts and Steichen deserve a little bit more credit because they are winning with backup quarterback, and we're giving other teams credit for winning with backup, and we haven't really been giving the Colts credit.
Fair enough.
And I know they beat the Titans, but still, it was a close game. It was a game that they didn't know if they were going to have Joe Flacco or Richardson, which is a tough situation to be in when you don't know who your quarterback is going to be. But yeah, I mean they're winning close games, and I think Shane Steichen has this team in a good mindset where they're sticking together no matter who's their quarterback, no matter what's happening. So now for fantasy, you've dropped 2 in a row, buddy.
Yeah, well,
You're no
all
longer
my
the
players, yeah.
I hear the excuses
yeah.
already.
So I guess my top 3: Kenneth Walker 20.9, Lamar 18.92, and T Higgins 14.7. My bottom 3: Saquon 7.4, Niners 6, and I just had to throw Wicks in there. He had 1.9, but he got hurt, and I mean, there was nobody else on my team that was healthy that had points. So
Yeah, that sucks. My personal best, Love 25.62, Kittle with 22.8, and Brees with 21.9. And for worst, Mike Evans 5.4, Metcalf 7.8, and Eagles defense with 8 points, which isn't bad for a defense, but it was the Browns. So, now for overall fantasy, the perfect lineup: Caleb Williams 28.64, Sean Tucker, your offensive game ball, 34.2, Joe Mixon 27.2. Chris Godwin, he had such a good game, 35.5. Garrett Wilson with 24.7. Cole Kmet with 24 even. Bijan Robinson, 25.5. Bates with 17 points. And the Lions defense with 18. That total score would be 234.74 points. And for the worst lineup, Dak Prescott, 3.22 points. Zach Moss with 0.5. Bigsby with 2.4. Ridley, 0.9. Mike Evans, 5.4. Conklin with 3. Ayuk with 5.7. You are really earning that contract, buddy.
yeah, right.
McPherson with 5. And the Cowboys defense with -1.
Nice.
That total score would be 25.12 points. So that's pretty rough for a fantasy lineup.
Yeah.
Sorry if you had those guys. Sorry if you had that entire team.
Yeah.
If you did, then you're a fantasy genius in some other reverse world.
Right.
But yeah, that's it for the recap. And now we will move into our Week 7 preview.
All right, moving into the Week 7 preview, Thursday Night Football, Broncos Saints. I think the Saints continue to struggle. I think Bo Nix leads the team to a win. I think they win 28-16.
Okay, I mean, this is Sean Payton against his former team.
Right.
That's a fun storyline. I honestly keep going back and forth. I wonder if Carr's going to be healthy or not. I'm leaning Broncos because right now I just really don't have confidence in the Saints receiving core. I just feel like they're more talented to be playing this inconsistently, you know? So I'm going to give it to the Broncos, and I also am a fan of Bo Nix, but I do think it'll be a close game, like 27-23. Patriots Jags. Another London game.
It's going to be a tough, I feel like for some people it might be a tough London game, both 2 1-5 teams. I mean, I'm going to watch it regardless, but I think I'm going to say the Jaguars win this game. I think they've looked better. I just think they have a better offense than the Patriots. I know that's not saying much. So I think they win 24-13. But, I mean, this is back-to-back London games for the Jaguars. I think Doug Peterson is the next coach to get fired, but I still think I think they win. I think they beat the Patriots just because they have a better offense than them.
I'm gonna give it to the Patriots. I think they're gonna figure out a way to win. If this game is close in the fourth quarter, I can see the Jags coughing it up, and
Like normal, like usual. Yeah.
exactly. And I think Drake May will have a really good game.
I hope so. I hope so. Noon game, Seahawks, Falcons. I have the Seahawks winning 28-27. I think it would be a close game. I don't know. I think this is a toss up. It's really, I don't know. The Seahawks are such a weird team offensively. They could go out and score 40 or they could maybe score 20. So I think it'll be a toss up either way, but I think the Seahawks win by a point or two.
I think the Falcons win, and I think the touchdown that gets them the lead is a Kirk Cousins rushing
Oh,
touchdown.
okay.
This is my bold prediction. Or one of
Okay.
them.
Okay. Bills Titans. I don't think this game is going to be close. I have Bills 38-16 over the Titans. I think this will be a games over at halftime kind of game. This Titans just are not ready for this Bills team, and yeah, it's not going to be pretty.
This could be the game that, if they move on from Will Levis, this could be the game that does it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Josh Allen might have like 5 total touchdowns in this
Yeah,
game. Wouldn't be surprised. I have the Bills winning this game pretty
Pretty comfortably.
significantly. Yeah.
Next up, the Packers Texans. So this is a game that I feel like should have been prime time. My bold prediction: I think the Packers win 27-24, and I think Narvison has a game-winning field goal. I
Ooh.
think that he has struggled. It's been tough to watch for sure. But I think this is a very close game. I think Stroud and Love both do well, but I think Narvison has a game-winning field goal and some even a little bit of confidence for some Packer fans who
Yeah, there you
need
go.
Narvison to step it up.
Get somebody to have confidence in you the way Matt LaFleur has confidence in Narvison, because he is stuck by him through all of it,
Yeah.
and you gotta love that. Yeah, as I work in the Packers building, and there is so much hype. Like working at Lambeau, you can feel the excitement with the winter warning, coming off this win, being 4-2. Jordan Love's healthy. You can just feel the excitement. I think the Packers win this game. It also helps that Nico Collins is out.
Yeah.
And the Packers are healthy on the back end now. With Jair and Valentine should be healthy
Yeah.
by the like fully
We'll see
healthy
what
by
Devontae
this
Wyatt.
week.
See what Devontae
We'll see
Wyatt.
about Wyatt, but I'm just talking about like their
Yeah.
corners and
Right.
safeties. So I think that'll really help them, and because the Packers' rush defense has been playing so well, so that's why I give the edge to the Packers. And again, it's a home game, but I do think it'll be a fun kind of shootout, Stroud and Love. But also the Mixon Jacobs thing, I think will be fun to watch too. But the Packers have been forcing 2 or 3 turnovers a game. I could see that happening again. Like I think their defense has just been incredible.
Right. Bengals Browns. I think this is a 17-10 win for the Bengals. The Bengals need to win this game comfortably, but I don't think they do. I don't know. The Bengals just are. They don't have it. Like they just don't look like what they should be, and the Browns are just not a good football team. And they almost beat the Eagles, so they can. I mean, maybe take some momentum from that. But yeah, I think the Bengals win this game, and if they don't, that's really bad.
Nick Chubb is back, and Browns win the game.
Okay, fair enough.
I think Nick Chubb has over 100 yards rushing in his return game. That's my second bold prediction.
Colts Dolphins. I have a Colts winning 21-17. It sounds like Richardson's going to be back. I think barring any setbacks, Steichen said he's going to play. I think that they, 21-17. Dolphins still don't look great. Colts are kind of trying to figure it out. I mean, Richardson has been hurt now a couple games, so we'll see. But yeah, I just don't see. I don't think that the Dolphins win this game. I think Colts. The Colts are beat up. Colts are really beat up. It's bad. But yeah, I think Colts win this by maybe a touchdown or so.
I'm gonna give this one to the Dolphins. Now Jonathan Taylor didn't play this last game for the Colts. That's a big difference.
Yes. Yeah.
Him being in or out. So if I know for a fact that he's playing, that might change, my opinion. But now that we know for sure that Tua will be back this season, I just feel like that can give the Dolphins team some energy. And I don't know, I feel like Tyler Huntley's going to play a little bit better. Just keep having confidence more a week. I do have breaking news. It's not like a huge thing, but the Vikings just traded for running back Cam Akers. This isn't a reflection of concern for Aaron Jones' injury long term, but it will help give them that boost while he is out for however long he's
Mm-hmm.
out for.
Next up, the Lions Vikings 31-20. I actually think that the Lions I would say comfortably. I think I have them winning 31-20. I don't know. The Vikings, yeah, they're coming off a bye week. They might be a little sluggish. The Lions are coming off that dominant win. Yeah, I'm not 100% bought into the Vikings. I don't know why I'm not, but I'm more confident in the Lions than the Vikings, and I think that they comfortably win this game.
Yeah, I have the Lions edging the Vikings on this one. I think it's like 28-24. I don't think it's a blowout. Um, the Vikings are at home, which helps, but I think the Lions have the overall better team, and I think their running game does really well this week.
Giants Eagles. This is my bold prediction. The Giants will win this game.
I would not
Um,
be surprised,
yeah,
actually.
I
I mean, it's a
just
good bold
yeah,
prediction.
I think that Sirianni if Sirianni's fine now because he's winning games, but if he starts losing games, he's gonna get run out of town. So yeah, I think the Giants win this game. They've been so close the past couple weeks. I think this week they get it done.
Yeah, I could see it. I might go with you on that. The Giants win this game. Maybe a bold prediction should be that Daniel Jones finally throws a touchdown pass to
Maybe
Matt
I
Leonard.
mean it's
That might be a good bold prediction to have. Love to see it.
moving to the afternoon games now. Rams. I think Rams beat the Raiders 24-14. I just think that McVay just has a great coaching
Mm-hmm.
performance and just I mean the Raiders look a mess. No Devontae now. I mean he hadn't been playing the past couple weeks anyways, but yeah, I just think McVay just outcoaches um the Raiders and yeah, I think I wouldn't say comfortably, but yeah, I think the Rams win this game.
No, you don't believe in Pierce?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think O'Connell throws two picks in this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams have a couple sacks too. I think the Rams win this game. Like you said, I do think it kind of comes down to coaching, but also I think the Rams, even though they're injured, I think they do have their better team.
Commanders Panthers. This is my third bold prediction. I think the Commanders hang 40 on the Panthers. I think they win 41-17. That offense looks really good, and that's a really bad Panthers team. So yeah, I think Jaden Daniels maybe throws 4 touchdowns, but I don't think this will be a close game either.
Yeah, I think the Commanders have this one easily. I mean, the Panthers, they just can't tackle. Like, they really can't. And you're going to have to tackle to win games. And they just.
Especially Jaden too, who can run.
Exactly. Yeah, I think this will be a really good game for the Commanders. I wonder if Panthers will go back to Bryce Young after this week.
Yeah,
Just like, because they don't know what they're doing.
right. 49ers Chiefs. I actually have the Niners winning this game 24-20. The Chiefs they've gotten away with haven't looking great, and I just think this Niners defense, this is a Super Bowl rematch. The Niners are going to be motivated, and I think they do win this game.
Yeah, I actually have the Niners win this game as well. I think it'll be close. My bold prediction for this game is that both Purdy and Mahomes throw for 3+ touchdowns.
Okay, okay. Sunday Night Football,
Heck yeah.
Jets
I
Steelers.
can't wait for this game.
I actually have the Jets winning 20-16. I just think that Steelers offense I know that Jets defense isn't what it should be or what it has been, but I just think that Jets offense. I'm assuming Devontae's playing. But yeah, I think they win by about a touchdown. Their offense is just better, and the Steelers I don't know. Russ's first game, maybe there's a little bit of struggles, but yeah,
Rest.
yeah, Russ, yeah, good one.
I have the Steelers winning this game. TJ Watt's gonna sack Rodgers twice at
Twice.
least. I mean, wouldn't be surprised.
3 4 times.
No, I just mean like the Steelers defense is so dominant.
Yeah.
This Jets offense is not. It's inconsistent, and yes, I know Devontae might not play.
He might not.
They're
They're
we have to
hopeful.
see the
They're
health.
hopeful.
They're hopeful. And I mean, it has been a couple weeks of him being able to rest, so
Yeah.
hopefully he's back and healthy. But I just think Mike Tomlin is such a good coach,
Yeah.
and I just don't see him losing to an interim head coach this early on in the interim's time. Like, I don't know. Mike Tomlin's gonna be prepared. He's gonna want to
Yeah.
spoil this, and it's a home game for Pittsburgh. They don't want to lose on a night at home.
Yeah.
They just don't.
There's 2 Monday night games again this week. Ravens Bucks. This is going to be. I think this could maybe get into like the 30s and 40s for points wise, but I think the Ravens win 28-27. They're just a better team. I think the Bucks rely a lot on their offense and Baker. But I mean that Ravens defense hasn't looked great, but I think the Ravens more so control the football and the time of possession. And I think that's why they win this game.
And I love the Ravens. I would not be surprised if they won, but I'm giving it to the Bucks, 34-30. I think Baker has a really nice game where we're talking MVP conversation after the game.
Fair enough. The last game of the week, Chargers Cardinals.
It's a fun one.
I think Chargers went 30-20. That Cardinals team, we saw them like they look. I mean, the offense just looked really bad. I mean, Kyler didn't play that bad. There's a lot of dropped passes, a lot of fumbles that he couldn't really control. Um, I just that we've seen what the Cardinals can look like. They beat the Niners 2 weeks ago, but now Marvin Harrison isn't playing. I shouldn't say that he left with a concussion. James Conner got hurt, so they're kind of banged up. So I don't think they win this game.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to the Chargers. I also think that they're gonna try to emulate what the Packers defense did of slowing down Kyler Murray's rushing game because that's when things get really rough when you're playing against the Cardinals is when you let Kyler get comfortable running the ball and he's running, for 14-yard gain on third down or whatever, to get the first, and then he feels comfortable, with the passes, like he just gets into the rhythm. He never got in that rhythm against the Packers defense, and I think the Chargers do a good job emulating that. Maybe not having the 3 turnovers that the Packers did, but I do think the Chargers edge this out, and then the Cardinals have some tough conversations about how to move forward now that their season has come.
The big 2-5 at that point.
Yeah.
Most looking forward to, I think it's Lions Vikings. We know what the NFC North is. This is like, top 2 teams in the best division. They're standing wise. I think this is going to be both teams know what's at stake here, and this is a really prove who is the better team. So I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch.
There's a lot of fun games. The last 4 are Chiefs, Niners, Ravens, Bucks, Jets, Steelers, Chargers, Cardinals. Come on, all of those are so fun. I think Devontae's playing. I think Russ is starting. It's Sunday Night Football. This is a gritty matchup. I want to see it. I'm all for it.
This was one I will admit. I was kind of like when I saw Packers Texans, I was like, why is this not prime time? Then I saw it was Jets Steelers, but now with all the storylines, this is a very well-deserved primetime game.
There you go. Yeah, it's fun. I love it. So this is a good week of football coming up. The bye weeks are Patriots, Jags, Bears, and Cowboys. I think the Cowboys actually took their bye week this past week, so I guess they might have gotten 2.
Hey, at least they can't lose this week.
There you go. So it should be a fun week of football like always, and we will see you next week.